Hello, my name is Kurniasih. I'm a fourth student of English Literature at Pamulang University. So today I'm going to present my presentation about this is a very interesting subject, namely drama, by my supervisor, my lecturer, Miss Ruiz. And okay, no need to take long to introduce myself. Let's get with it. So I will give you a little spoiler. It's not spoiler actually. About the Zeus story by Edward Albee. So in this presentation, I'm not gonna read the drama text, but I will tell you about the issues and the theory regarding the Zeus story. And no need to take long. Let's get started. Oh, alright, hold on, guys. So I forgot to tell you this, and so basically, the Zeus story was written on 1958 by the absolutely the greatest famous playwright Edward Albee. Alright, next. Alright guys, as you can see on your screen, I have several results of my analysis regarding the Zeus story. I get some related issues and theories, including first, isolation, second, depression, third, homosexuality, fourth, loneliness, and fifth is social class differences. Alright, next I will explain in more detail one by one. Next slide. First, isolation. This issue is proven by Jerry telling Peter how his life is so lonely. He doesn't even have friends or family at the moment, and also the unfriendly and individualistic neighbors who lives around him. The theory that supports the illusion of isolation based on Sigmund Freud, theory of isolation, a psychoanalytic theory that discusses different mechanism concepts, are characterized by gaps in mental process related to unpleasant or threatening cognition or thinking. As a defense against harmful thoughts, isolation prevents the self from allowing this cognition to repeat by itself and possibly undermining the self-concept. Third, the quotation of isolation. Jerry, what were you trying to do? Make sense of what things? Bring order to all pigeonhole bit? Well, that's easy. I'll tell you. I live in a 4-story brownstone rooming house on the upper west side between Columbus Avenue and Central Park West. I live on the top floor, where west it's a lovably small room, and one of my lovably small rooms. So I assume that the two rooms were once one room, a small room, but not necessarily lovable. The room beyond my beaverboard wall is covered by a colored queen who always keeps his door open. Well, not always, but always when he's poking his eyebrow, which is he does with Buddhist concentration, which is also pretty rare, and he wears this kimono too, from the John in the hall. Well, actually, I'm not gonna read this drama script because it's too long, so we're gonna next to the other issues. 2. Depression. The depression, it could be including Jerry's life is full of loneliness, hopelessness, poor life, and psychological disorder. And this issue is proven by Jerry to do action to suicide for ending his suffering and losing hope in fighting to end his bitter life, social isolation, poverty, and loneliness in his life. The theory that supports depression, based on the cognitive theory of depression from Dr. Aaron Beck, depression is a condition where negative thoughts are caused by dysfunctional beliefs. This is the main symptom of depression, which is directly related to the number and severity of depression symptoms they had experienced. In other words, if they think negative in large number, they will feel more depressed. The quotation of depression. Silver then Peter screams, pulls away, leaving Nevin Jerry. Jerry is motionless on point. Then he too screams, and it must be the sound of an infuriated and fatality wounded animal with a knife in him. He stumbled back to the bench that Peter had fixated. He crumbles there, sitting, facing Peter, his eyebrow white in agony, his mouth open, and Peter, whispering, Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Peter repeated this word many times, very rapidly. Jerry's dying, but now his expression seems to change. His features relax, and while his voice varies, sometimes wrenches with pain, for the most part he seems removed from his dying. Then he smiled. Jerry, thank you, Peter. I mean that. Thank you very much. Third, homosexuality. Based on history, Jerry not interested in women. We can see his behavior towards the landlady and accordingly on his past that he had been in relationship with a man. Also the way Jerry interested to keep Peter on the conversation while he asking about his life and family. Theory that support homosexuality. I have a queer theory. This is a theory about homosexuality which states that sexual orientation can only be seen from one aspect or point of view, such as gender, masculine or feminine, or as easy as we can say as male or female. Sexual orientation uses two aspects to identify the person, and one point of view from this theory is willingness, no identity, in which a person can be seen from physically but also from psychological point as well. And the quotation of homosexuality. Peter, the girls? Jerry, no. I wonder if it's said that I have never seen the little ladies more than once. I've never been able to have sex with, or how is it put? Make love to anybody more than once? Once? That's it. Oh wait. For a week and a half when I was 15 and I hang my head in shame that puberty was late, I was a homosexual. I was queer, with bells ringing, banners snapping in the wind, and for those 11 days I met at least twice a day with the park superintendent's son, a great boy whose birthday was the same as mine, except he was a year older. I think it was very much in love, maybe it is with sex, but that was the gist of a very special hotel, wasn't it? And now, I love the little ladies, really? I love them for about an hour. Fourth, loneliness. This issue was proven when he was involved in a conversation with Peter that he lived alone there, no friends or family, just like living in dualism, that he never spoke intensely to his neighbors, even just a small talk, he never did that. The theory of loneliness. Robert S. Ruiz. The attachment theory forms the basis for the loneliness theory, identified in 6 functions that correlate to feelings of loneliness, where needs are attachment, social integration, nurture, values assurance, a sense of reliable alliance, and guidance in stressful situations. Ways distinguish loneliness from social isolation. And the quotation of loneliness. Peter. About those 2 empty picture frames, Jerry. I don't see why they need an explanation at all. Isn't it clear? I don't have a picture of anyone to put in them. Peter. Your parents? Perhaps a girlfriend? Jerry. You're such a very sweet man, and you're possessed of a truly available innocence. But good old mom and good old pop are dead, I'm broken up about it. Really? But that particular vaudeville act is playing the closed circuit now, so I don't see how I can look at them all neat and frame. Besides, or rather, to be point about it, good old mom walked out on good old pop when I was 10.5 years old. She embarked on adulterous turn of our short state, a journey of a year's duration, and her most constant companion, among many others, was a Mr. Barleycorn. At least that's what good pop told me after he went down. Come back. Broke her putty note would receive the new between Christmas and New Year. So you see, the good old mom had parted with the ghost in some dome in Alabama, and without the ghost, she was less welcome. Fifth, social class. This issue is proven by the differences on social status between Jerry and Peter, and where Peter is a man who comes from the upper class, he's a polite man who lives in modernism, has a normal life and a married man. He has a good job and better life, but 100% different from Jerry, that he's living in an isolated area. He comes from lower class and lives in poverty line, unmarried man that have an absurd behavior, not having a good job at all, and that exactly life is far from decent. The theory that support social class is theory Karl Marx or theory Marxism. Marx defined class as a group of people who have the same relation with the means of production, the facilities and resources for producing goods, such as tools, machines, and factories. Marx wrote extensively about the relationship between the rich, privileged class or the bourgeois and the oppressed poor or the proletariat. The bourgeois is a class which own property, including that which own and control the means of production, and the proletariat is the working class. The position of social class. Peter, oh, you live in a village. Jerry, no, I don't. I took the subway down to the village, so I could walk all the way up Fifth Avenue to the zoo. It's one of those things a person has to do. Sometimes a person has to go a very long distance out of his way to come back a short distance correctly. Peter, oh, I thought you live in a village. Jerry, what were you trying today? Make sense of the things? Bring order? The old pigeonhole bit? Well, that's easy, I'll tell you. I live in a 4-story brownstone rooming house on the Upper West Side between Columbus Avenue and Central Park West. I live on the top floor, rare west. It's a lovably small room, and one of my walls is made of beaverboard. This beaverboard separates my room from another lovably small room. Peter thought that Jerry lived in the village, but that was wrong. Jerry is living in a bad place where everyone is able to feel not good environment by his story. And another quotation. Jerry, what do you do to support your animal's household? Peter, I have an executive position with a small publishing house. We publish textbooks. Peter, my dear fellow Jerry, don't my dear fellow me. Jerry wants to know about Peter's jobs in is and compares himself to being just an employee who has a problem he doesn't normally tell others. So alright guys, I'm gonna tell you this a little spoiler about the story. So basically, this is story 1958 accentuates the fundamental social sickness, or as we can say social disparity, the nauseous values of the upper middle class bourgeois, the wrongs of the city, the empty feelings of life, and the problem of alienation in American society in the middle 20th century. The tremendous economic growth had provided prosperity to the majority of the population. These people became economically content that they were not aware of the prevailing poverty and social disparity. Conformity was the dominant pattern of life at that time, and economic security became the main concern of the people. This influence, however, was not accompanied by equal distribution of national income. In society, the gap between social classes was so apparent that there seems to be no bridge connecting them, and this led to the alienation of the people and the zoo story. 1858. Albeit depicts the problem of alienation that is metaphorically portrayed as animal living in the zoo, albeit try to point out that the zoo is a metaphor for the dividing system between the upper middle class bourgeois and the low-class proletariat. The contrasting socioeconomic condition, as portrayed through the contrasting lifestyle of the characters in the Zoo Story 1958, has become the bars and walls that make the social disparity between different social classes more apparent, and this disparity results in the more serious problem of alienation. The conclusion of this story is, Jerry is one of those people in the world who doesn't fare well himself, who comes from the lower class as if determining his fate that will be accepted in his life. The depression Jerry felt unfortunately didn't get any good result unless Peter wanted to help him. So Jerry, who had no hope of getting out of his trouble that he faced, he ended his life with suicide by forcing Peter to kill him as a symbol of real freedom. So that's all the material that I have shared. Maybe it will be beneficial of all of us. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.